All right, guys, get ready for another episode of Disenchanted with Charis. Don't forget, hit up the live chat, and if you want, call in at 850-426-4065. Stand by. We'll be starting in just a second.
It's Disenchanted with Charis on the Pimpy K Multiverse Network.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Disenchanted with Charis. I am your host, Charis. As always, I am joined by my fabulous producer, Mr. Pimpy K. Before we get too deep into it, we're going to go ahead and get our contacts up on the screen for you. As always, you can get us on Twitter at Charis Tomlin, Facebook.com/Disenchanted with Charis. You can also send any emails, requests, anything you want to see on the show to charis@pimpyk.com. We also have our hotline and text open as well now. It's 850-426-4065. All right, so coming up on tonight's show, I do want to get into the privatization of the prison system, which I think is got anything to make a buck in this country, right? Gotta love good old-fashioned capitalism. But before I get into that, I was trolling the What's Trending section on Facebook.
Dork.
Hey, you know, some of it can be quite funny, and I did find something very funny today. There is a person, someone up in Georgia is actually suing Snapchat. For those of you who haven't heard about this, apparently there is a filter on Snapchat that will actually read the speed at which the picture was taken. Well, Snapchat is now being sued because of this filter, because they're blaming Snapchat for a car accident because a teenager was racing down a road at 104 miles an hour while taking a Snapchat. Somehow this is Snapchat's fault. It should also be noted that the same teenager who caused this wreck took a Snapchat of herself on a stretcher as she was being put into the ambulance. I'm going to say it probably isn't a Snapchat problem.
Am I the only one that's a little discouraged that she actually survived? I was hoping that was going to end a little bit better than that. I thought it was going to be like Porsche Girl. You remember her?
No, I don't. What's Porsche Girl?
Just whenever you guys get a chance, everybody out there, when the show's over, bring up your browser, go to Google, and just type in Porsche Girl. You have been warned.
I don't know. You can't blame social media for people being that stupid. You can't. And the other side that they're saying too is people who are saying that Snapchat needs to take this filter away are the same people who are saying Snapchat is also wrong because, and I don't use Snapchat, so someone correct me if I'm wrong. Apparently Snapchat gives you trophies for accomplishments. So they're saying that
You
Snap.
sent your first dick pic.
But see, I had always heard that that's what Snapchat was for. That's why I always stayed away from it. Like I have enough
No,
going.
that's Snatch Chat. That's a totally different app.
What do you know about Snatch Chat, Kenny?
Absolutely not a damn thing. I'm married.
So, good save.
No, I didn't mean that. No, listen to me real quick. I don't want to jump in here this early, but I didn't mean that as in I'm married. I don't fuck with that. I meant I'm married. I don't fuck. That's what I meant by that.
It's like Robin Williams used to say, people who are against same-sex marriage. Anyone who's been married for a long time knows it's always the same sex.
Let them deal with it, too. Why should only heterosexual people have to go through the misery of marriage?
No, if you marry the right person, it's not that bad.
I don't believe that. I believe everybody has their differences.
They do. Unfortunately, though, I will probably never know. For I am a hopeless romantic living in a hookup culture. Yeah, and if Donald Trump gets elected, my dating pool is going to get real small real quick. Anyway, so back on the real important stuff here, Kenny.
To the shit that matters.
To stuff that matters to people.
Which might be towards the end of the show because we haven't gotten there yet. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you. Continue, please. Your train of thought is so fragile.
It is. I am, again, poster child for ADD. So, something that I don't think is talked about often enough, even though it's something that's not new, is the privatization of the prison system. Right now, only 10% of all the prisons within the United States are privatized. We have, one of the smallest world populations and the largest inmate population in the world.
Yeah, I mean we have more inmates than like
2.2 million, I think, is the current average on that.
Put it this way: China has 3.2 billion people, and we still have more people in prison than they do, and they're communists.
Yeah. So what does that tell you?
Commies love to imprison people.
The big difference between a public prison and a private prison is that a public prison is funded for by the taxpayers. A private prison is one that is actually funded by a corporation. Okay, so what is a corporation's main goal?
Well, no, it's ran privately, but it's the money still comes from the federal government or state, depending on whether it's a state or federal facility.
The state pays for they pay the corporation for their oversight.
Yeah, well, basically
what they're doing.
It somewhat works like this. So, the state or the feds, whatever it is, right? They say it should cost this much to run this prison. So when you privatize prison, the way you make that profitable is you say, okay, so you're going to give me this much a year because this is how much it should cost to run a prison. Well, I'm going to cut some bottom lines. And I'm going to find a way to have some extra money at the end of that. And that's what we make. That's the profit that we make when we privately run this prison. So they're going to cut corners that maybe other,
But regardless of how they go about it, I still have issues with it, and I have issues for it for the following reasons. First of all, Wells Fargo's involved. Wells Fargo has actually invested quite a bit of money and there's two of the biggest ones, which one is out of Tennessee and the other one's actually out of Florida. As far as prison corporations are concerned.
They'll only be detaining people that rob stagecoaches, though. And bank robbers.
Anytime you have a corporation that gets involved in anything like this, you have the potential for corruption. Not to say that public prisons aren't bad enough. We know that they are, in fact, not up to par at all. But what's going on is there was a study done, and it was over about 8 years, on private prisons versus public prisons. And what they found out was that the private prisons a lot of those inmates have longer sentences than they would should they have been in a public prison. Reason being, the longer they're there, the more money the corporations make.
So what you're saying is the private prisons, it's harder to be paroled.
Yes, it is. It is much more difficult to be paroled.
The sentences pass forward from the courts, but the parole is based on the prison themselves, because they do the rehabilitation. They decide whether you're ready or not to hit the streets, right?
Yes.
So this kind of is like tied in, not necessarily the same story, but sort of like the judge that was selling the kids.
You've heard about that.
Yeah,
See,
right?
what was
same idea, right?
Yeah, it is. It's the very same idea. There was actually, and I think it was up north was it Wisconsin or somewhere like that?
I didn't pay that much attention.
It was up north, but there was a judge who held stock in a juvenile justice detention facility, and he was getting kickbacks from this prison for every child he sent there. So he was sending kids to this facility for, I mean, absolutely just the most asinine things imaginable.
Yeah, like first-time offense, petty theft, all kinds of crazy shit like that.
Like first-time offense, shoplifting, petty larceny. He actually sent one kid for receiving stolen property, and it was a scooter his parents bought for him. They had no idea it was stolen, but because he was caught with it.
Is that the one thing that shook the tree loose? Is that what shook the fruit off the tree?
No. The sad part is that a lot of the kids he was sending came from poor families who
couldn't afford the defense.
And
that's the way it works.
Yep. There's a documentary out there on it too. It's called Kids for Cash, and I've watched it. It's actually it's
on Netflix, I believe.
It is, and to me, it's kind of disgusting. I mean, that's not the only incident. That the stuff like, because this happened 5-6 years ago now. It's been a while since this happened.
Well, he just got busted for it like 3 months ago or something like that. I mean,
no, it's been longer than that.
Has it?
Longer than that, yeah.
Or he just got sentenced or something.
Yeah. In these contracts that these corporations will sign with the state, there are actually occupancy requirements. Some of them go anywhere from 80 to something like 95%. That they must maintain that occupancy in order to secure the financial support from the corporation. Am I the only one that thinks that sounds a little strange?
It's fucked up.
I mean, does that not sound like we're creating criminals to punish them?
They've been doing that in this country for years and years and years.
I'm not saying it's a new thing, but I mean,
you know, one of the last states to actually have hard labor, and it's not considered hard labor anymore, but you know, Texas, you know, a lot of states, they got rid of like the whole road gang thing. Florida still has it, but there's a lot of rules about how many hours they can work, stuff like this.
Right.
But Texas, up until like it's about 20 years now, still had like hard labor camps, like breaking rocks and shit, you know, like you would see in the old school movies and shit.
I think Leavenworth, you do still break big rocks into small rocks. At least that was always the rumor.
Yeah, well being in a military, like being in a brig is totally different than anything else. The military, it governs themselves, so that's a totally different thing if you're within a facility, right? And now I totally forgot where I was going with this. But what I was going to say is like a lot of the countries where or just, you know, states, countries, whatever, where they actually use hard labor as a sentence, there's an industry that's driven by that labor, so of course there's gonna be some corruption that forces them to put people that don't deserve to be there, so they hit their numbers and quotas, right?
It's interesting you bring that up because companies, Starbucks and Victoria's Secret, have actually, it is a known fact that they use prison labor to manufacture their goods. In Starbucks, it's of course the tumblers and the cups and all that. And then of course, odds are good, ladies, if you're wearing a Victoria's Secret G-string, it was sewn together by Bubba. So
Did you ever
keep
watch,
that in mind.
You ever watch Orange is the New Black?
Yes. Like, it was brought up in that too.
Yeah, I mean, she like made panties. And
that's a whole nother enterprise. Hold on. We're talking about two separate types of prison work
it's
here.
Still prison labor.
No,
maybe not sanctioned, but it's prison labor nonetheless.
We're not going to go there. If you have not seen that episode, it is very entertaining.
There was a whole season, really.
Well, yeah. Hey, Ruby Rose was in that season.
I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do. The girl with all the tattoos that was in the latter half of the season that she met in the underwear panty making
Oh,
department.
yeah. The English broad, right? Well, you never knew what she was because she was a compulsive liar.
I don't care. She is gorgeous. Like, that is my celebrity crush. Like, she's stunning. And she did a photo shoot here recently, and it wasn't with MAC, but I think it was a cosmetics company or whatever.
I think the most gorgeous person on that show is Porn Stash.
Are you serious?
yeah, Charis. I'm serious.
He's creepy looking to me. Like, he just creeps me out in every possible way.
We have some activity on the chat whenever you're ready to check that out.
All right, you want to give that a shot real quick, and I'll get into
I'll go and throw that up. And we've got Miss Nikki Hayes. She says, shirt looks very familiar.
Didn't we have this conversation? Nikki, you are no. We're just going to say that is no. See,
we had this conversation right before the show started, and I said, I think you wore that shirt last week. And she said, did I? End conversation.
No, and the conversation went, I said, don't worry about it. No one will notice. And he goes, oh, they will. So thanks, Nikki.
There's hard-hitting issues out here. And fucking vain-ass petty Nikki is out here talking about what the fuck Charis is wearing.
I know, right?
Jesus.
Nikki, come on. Bring some substance.
I just want to know who the fuck that is.
I don't know, but you know what? Hey, I'm about that life.
Yep. Thank you for watching, Nikki.
Yeah.
Love Ruby Rose is also what Nikki said.
Yes.
Real quick, because I know this is breaking your concentration. We're gonna have to learn you how to get through these quick pop in, pop outs with the chat and stuff. Because God forbid we decide we get to the point where we're taking calls and you just. I don't know how
have a squirrel moment.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell you would handle that because that would be a pretty nasty situation for you.
You'll find me in the corner, rocking back and forth and crying
in a fetal position.
Yeah. But these corporations for these prisons have lobbyists now too. They are lobbying.
They all do. If there's money, there's lobbyists. That's flies the shit, moth to a flame, baby.
Pretty much. CCA, who is one of the major players in all this, actually released their annual report for their stockholders in 2014. That said, and I quote, relaxation of enforcement efforts leaning, I can't even read my own handwriting, leniency in conviction or parole standards and policing practices or changes in drug and immigration policy adversely affect the profits.
Right.
So they are making money off of trying to keep people in prison.
Yes.
That's bullshit. You do your time, you pay your debt, and you were released.
Listen, remember we were talking about the reasons for the original alcohol prohibition being like the oil industry and oil lobbyists. Yeah. Well, this is the same thing. Why do you think they're trying not to end the prohibition on marijuana? Because there's a lot of people that are locked up for life because of 3 marijuana strikes. And those people would walk if this legislation is passed.
Well, see, I have a problem with that too. Because you can go to jail 3 times in the state of California, I know, for marijuana possession and automatically get life.
As long as it's a felony.
As long as it's
3 felonies is a 3-strike rule.
Right. But now if you rape someone, you get 18 months and you're likely not even to serve that full sentence.
A lot of states don't consider rape to be they consider rape to be a violent crime, but they don't consider child molesting to be a violent crime, so they're the first to walk during overcrowding usually.
Yes, that is also a fact.
Which is really sad.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that should be castrated first, chemically at least.
Well, and I've watched several documentaries and things like that on Nat Geo.
Or castrated by a pit bull with 1 tooth.
And they have even said, they have interviewed child molesters and pedophiles, and they have said themselves, we cannot be rehabilitated. This is the way it is.
Say that again. Child molesters and what?
Pedophiles.
There you go. You said it the British way. You said pedophile. That's the limey way of saying it, you limey little twerp.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that. I was going to have to come after you with the wooden spoon.
Thought.
I caught that.
Yeah, continue, Charis. Continue.
Yeah, anyway, so they have even said themselves, we cannot be rehabilitated. There is no hope for us. So why are they taking up space? If that is the case, if they freely admit that, first of all, why are we letting them back out into society?
75% of every sexual offender that is released
will do it again.
Does it again.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the phrase for that is.
Recidivism.
Or yeah, is it to like repeat your crime?
Yeah, repeat offender is
repeat offender. That's what I was looking for.
Okay. Which we actually have one of the largest recidivism rates in the world too.
Oh yeah, well, Americans are just nasty people anyway.
Have you ever noticed, like, people, like, white people commit really weird crimes? Like, they end up in prison for some weird shit.
God, we've talked about this so many times. Not just on this show, but on every show. White people are the creepiest criminals there are.
Yeah. Like, they stab their husbands with polyresin squirrels and stuff.
Yep, see, we've had this conversation. While Charis is gathering her thoughts, I just want to remind everybody that's out there to hit up the live chat. And if you want to call in, now's just as good a time as any. It's 850-426-4065. Give us a call, guys.
Thank you, cheesy radio announcer.
That was just regular voice. I've just refined my cadence. I don't know what to tell you. One day you'll be as good as me.
I don't know if I can do that. That's a...
Yeah, me neither, but I was, positive criticism.
So, and unfortunately, this whole we're going to profit off of poor people thing has spread to probation as well. A lot of the probation systems have become privatized as well. So these people are then having to not only pay a fine for the crime they committed, but then they have to pay probation fees. And what happens is when you can't pay your probation fees, they do what they call VOP, or violation of probation. So then you get to go
parole, same thing.
Yeah. So then they send you to jail to serve out your remaining sentence.
Well, that all depends.
It depends, but generally speaking.
Right. I mean, if you have a suspended sentence and you don't do your probation, that means everything's suspended and you do the time that you were
originally given. Yeah.
Right. But then. Of course, if that isn't how you were convicted, or that's not what the sentence was, then you might just do 30 days for a VOP, and then when you get out, you get time served for everything else, because they realized we're just going to go ahead and throw you in jail for 30 days because we don't think you're capable of handling probation.
It still seems really, I mean, I can understand you having to pay off your court costs, but the amount of money that people on probation are obligated to every month is insane.
No, you commit the crime, you do the time, flip the bill. Those fines are in place to deter crime. You can't say that's a bad idea. Come on, Charis. Listen to me. Financially, you want to know a bad idea is. A father that doesn't have a job or the money to pay child support, so they take his fucking driver's license as punishment. Now he really can't get a fucking job. That's fucking stupid. But fining people using money to deter crime, that just makes fucking sense to me.
But some of it is astronomical.
Oh no, it depends on how big of the crime you commit. Absolutely.
I mean, if you get a DUI,
but
for example,
I guarantee you a high percentage of those numbers are restitution, which is. You got to add that in there too. So that's when they get big.
But I mean, look at the cost of a DUI. You get a DUI, they say 10 grand. It's not. It's generally closer to 12 or 13.
1 minute to break.
And that to me seems a little extreme.
It is.
But like you said about the child support thing, I do think a lot of that is absolutely ludicrous.
I've got a friend that has been receiving threats to suspend his license regularly once a month, and he goes down to the courthouse, takes care of it. The the judge is like, "Yeah, this is stupid," throws it out, and then the very next month he has to do it all over again. This has been going on for about 6 months.
Yep,
my boy Biggs.
Yep, and it really is extreme because they'll come out. They'll suspend your driver's license, then they suspend your passport, then they turn around and arrest you. If you're in jail, you're really not going to pay your child support.
Mm-hmm. If you don't have a job, if you don't have a car, your likelihood of getting a job is pretty fucked.
Yeah, especially if you live somewhere like here where we don't have public transport. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up that segment. We're going to go take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to discuss if Black Lives Matter.
You guys are watching Disenchanted with Charis right here at the Pimpy K Multiverse Network.
Driving in your car?
You bastards!
Are you sitting home alone?
You a fucking loser and you fucking know it.
Does the end of the night end with you balls deep in that fat girl you brought home from the bar? Tuesday night at 7, tune in for the Pimpy Cast live broadcast happening on the Pimpy K Multiverse Network.
Is poppin', pop the concept, destroy to create. Sadly, capital's the only thing that they'll let have a say. So there's no grace for the honest, from hospital to hospice, where the dead will rest on piles of products. And I recall Greek prophets breathing smoke for Apollo. Yo, without the gift of Miss Pythia, we're too eager to swallow by a sire or a sword, or a fist or a lie. I'm surprised after all of this time that we survived. Then again, let's define it, because it seems I know a ton of people who barely make it to the end of the month. And it's why the CIA gets to see us on our knees. We'll collapse all of their banks and turn them back into trees. Revolt will never die, though they think people are illegal. I've been studying theory and exerting my ego with the blackest flag that I can find in fire and rage. We're combating ignorance and prejudice to the grave. This is another ode to Charis, to the fairest of the heiresses, and airing all the arrows of our terrorist state. I'm getting steadier aim, and we've been waking in waves. So you're either talking revolution or making a mistake.
This is another road to Charis, to the fairest of the heiresses, and airing all the errors of our terrorist state. I'm getting steadier aim, and we've been waking in waves. So you're either talking revolution or making a mistake. I said to run when the balance tips backward. Hazmat suits for the blackbirds, ready to fly when the pressure's just right, compelled to head for the skies. Warzone is tarnished through the veterans' eyes. There's no surprise that the horizon is smudged in the lens, and you can catch a glimpse on your local airwaves at 10. Just another excuse to hang 3 sheets in the wind, and I'll keep pouring salt into my own wound. I caught a case of the creeps while I was chasing my dreams. Swivel my head to the east while the sun devoured Earth's feast. I scribble words in the sand. Winter never comes soon enough. I painted words in the sky. We're all fucked. I caught a tiger by its toe. I found the fire cause the smoke. When the voice inside my head spoke, it told me take no prisoners. I saw the scattering of crows. I've seen the fires that lie below. Heeded the words to abandon all of my hope before I entered
This is another ode to Charis, to the fairest of the heiresses, and airing all the arrows of our terrorist state. I'm getting steadier aim, and we've been waking in waves. So you're either talking revolution or making a mistake.
This is another road to Charis, to the fairest of the heiresses, and airing all the errors of our terrorist state. I'm getting steadier aim, and we've been waking in waves. So you're either talking revolution or making a mistake.
Driving in your car. Women are made to be loved, not understood. We're totally disenchanted with Charis on the Pimpy K Multiverse Network.
All right, here we are. Welcome back to our second segment. This segment, we're going to get into the Black Lives Matter movement. This keeps coming up, and I think it's kind of interesting, and I want to get into it a little bit, despite how I've been advised not to.
By who?
Oh, I think you told me one time, don't bring race into it. But.
No, I never said don't bring race into it. Race is a big part of the social interaction in the world in general.
All right, so before we go off on tangents, let's get our contacts up before we forget again.
Okay, well, I gotta find that because I don't know where the fuck I'm at. There's so much shit going on this show right now. Okay, here it comes. Sorry, that was my bad.
It's always button
You
pushers.
guys can get hold of Charis on Twitter. Follow her at Charis Tomlin. Facebook.com/Disenchanted Charis. If you want to email her for sleepover invites or death threats, charis@pimpyk.com, or hit up the hotline. Send a text. Leave a message, 850-426-4065. And don't forget, I almost said giggity, that you guys can call in at any time. And if we might take your call, we might not, but, 850-426-4065.
I like how you've got that phone number memorized. I haven't memorized a phone number in I don't know how long.
That's pretty much the only one I have to.
So I came across a very interesting article today on the Black Lives Matter movement. It was actually a was it Huffington Post? I think it was on. Pretty sure it was Huffington Post.
Is this a guessing game?
It is for that second.
Then I'm gonna go with the Effington Post.
I happen to like Huffington Post.
Okay. There's a satire that makes fun of them called the Effington Post, which is really funny. They got some good memes.
It is kind of a hipster outlet, but I still like it a little bit. Anyway, and the article was actually written by a lady who participated in what's considered the first wave of civil rights with Martin Luther King and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. And she was saying, and there's a lot of articles out there from people her age who participated in the first civil rights movement or watched it happen who say the same thing. We want to support this movement because we think it's important, but we also don't feel like we can. Because, see, back then, the goal was peaceful protest, working with other people rather than against them. But then you look at the Black Lives Matter movement, and although their point is very valid, the way that they go about it and the way that they present themselves.
Yeah, that's the old school argument of equality over equity.
They don't necessarily come across in the way that they want to. Well,
that's the old school thing about sociology in general, right? Is or just the way that I learned it and the way that I understood it. And I think when you put it this way, it makes everything totally understandable as far as what it is that you're going with on this topic. Is the difference between psychology and sociology. One person, which is psychology, right? They're typically level-minded. They understand exactly what it is they want to do. However, sociology, the study of people, when you get people together, masses of people, they become one mind, and it's not very easy to control, so it gets
true.
out of hand. Does that make sense?
It does. And the thing of it is, I spent a year of my life living in a black neighborhood. It just happened to be, I liked it. It was a cute little apartment, and it was my first apartment I had on my own, and I liked it. I just happened to be in a black area.
I used to live in a neighborhood that was black. I'm not racist.
No, because actually, I tell you what, in the year that I lived there, I learned a great deal because I grew up in Pleasantville with the Cleavers.
Right.
Okay, I went to a high school of almost 3,000 people.
You look like it too.
Yeah, I grew up I went to a high school of like 3,000 people. There were 4 black people in the whole school. It was white.
Right.
And redneck.
Right.
So to go into an environment that was so much different from my own, although I had no preconceived notions, I've never really been that type anyway. There were a couple things that happened that really did strike me as unusual, or perhaps, I think up until that point, I don't want to say I didn't acknowledge racism, but I thought it was like, it happened in like the backwoods of Kentucky, where they're still lynching people and burning crosses and shit.
That shit, yeah.
Like,
I'm with you.
It never really occurred to me that this was something that was perhaps a bigger issue than that.
Right.
And I can remember actually
because you were dealt the struggles of white privilege for pretty much most of your life.
Pretty much.
No, that's what it is.
I mean, that's exactly what it was.
I'm not gonna indulge, but I've got a story that's very similar to that.
And I can remember one day I was out in my front yard washing my work truck, and this cop pulled these 2 kids over. Now I'm gonna describe these 2 kids to you. Pimpy, do you remember back in the day when you first got your driver's license and you picked up your best friend and you rolled the windows down and turned the music up because you wanted everybody and their mother to know you had wheels?
Or just, even if the wheels weren't cool, you wanted people to know what you were listening to, for crying out loud.
Like, you wanted everybody to see you because you thought you were just it. Well, that's exactly what these 2 kids were doing. They were pulled over. They were cuffed and sat on the curb. The one kid was crying. Now, obviously, they were black. The one kid was crying.
Up until now, you had not made that obvious, just so you know.
I kind of figured that within the context of the conversation.
Context.
But it really, I was kind of bothered by it because I was sitting there giggling about it because I remember doing that, picking up my friend, riding around aimlessly and blasting the Donnas or whatever it was we were listening to at the time.
Which was, at your age, already 30 years old.
What, the Donnas?
You said Madonna?
No, I said the Donnas.
Oh, okay, my bad.
You know, God, keep up with it. And I really didn't know how to react because...
Touch for the very first time. Like a bird. Go ahead. Don't let me distract. If my silly bullshit is distracting you, we've got issues we've got to iron out.
I'm dying over here.
I can tell. Take a drink of your fancy schmancy cup that you bring to every show that fucks with my chroma key here.
But the whole situation really kind of caught me off because it was like, how is it that me, you know, Cindy Suburbia recognizes what's going on, yet someone who is in a position of law enforcement, who you would assume had some kind of training, would not see what was going on. Meanwhile, 4 blocks away, there are dope boys hanging outside of a grocery store.
Right.
You're not doing anything by going after obviously innocent people.
Well, here's what happens, and go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It really kind of made me question everything I thought I knew, because up until that point, I really didn't think racism was an issue. I didn't think people were singled out based upon their color or where they were from, or I mean,
because you didn't have to experience that.
Because I didn't. Not only did I not have to experience it, but I was always raised that that's not the way the world is. Everyone is different. You accept that, and you treat the garbage
the
man.
wool was over your eyes, basically.
To
your
a
childhood.
degree, yeah.
Right.
I was taught that you treat everyone with respect, regardless of who they are or their socioeconomical status.
Right.
So it was really kind of upsetting for me because that whole kind of rose-colored world that I'd grown up in was in some ways shattered.
Which is probably why you're disenchanted now.
It is. It is a big part of it because I see the Black Lives Matter movement, and I have to go. It has raised a lot of questions. I don't think. I mean, back in the 90s, you had the Rodney King riots. I think it was Martin Luther King who said, "Rioting is the last act of a desperate man." Now we've had...
No, Rodney King wasn't smart enough to say that. He said, "Can't we all get along?"
No, I said Martin Luther King.
Oh, Martin Luther. I'm sorry.
Not Rodney King.
That was a different king.
Different king.
My bad.
Pay attention. Keep up.
Trying.
So, and in the last, 3 years, you've had... I want to say Fenway, and I'm pretty sure that's a baseball stadium.
That is.
Ferguson.
There you go.
You've had the riots
Missouri.
in Baltimore. There's... If you look at the faces of the Black Lives Matter movement...
Riots on the streets of Miami.
It's sublime. I
Yes.
totally picked up on that. Love that song, by the way. It is younger people. It's people that are between the ages of, say, 16 and 36.
Look, here's the thing.
I don't want to say that they don't know what they want, because I know what they want. They want to stop being harassed. They want to be able to feel safe in their own communities.
Absolutely, everybody wants that. But here's the problem: is minorities, for some reason, have fallen into, and this happened like around the mid-60s, specifically around the Vietnam era. It got to the point where minorities were kind of thrown into the bunch with, they were no longer immigrants and this things of this nature. Now they're part of this counterculture. They tend to be more liberal in their views, and it's because of the way that they're treated. They need to be liberated. You understand what I'm saying? So what ends up happening, and I dealt with this growing up, and it's not just blacks, and it's not just Hispanics and things of this nature. It happens to everybody. I mean, maybe not at the same degree, and unfortunately, because they are thrown into the mix of this counterculture because of the whole hip hop thing and everything else, that what happens is, I remember when I was growing up, you would have two kids walking down the street, with one maybe with a skateboard, and they would have mohawks and bondage pants on, and they were punk kids or skate kids or whatever, probably the most harmless people on the planet, yet the fucking gangsters were walking around in polos and slacks, and the cops never looked twice at them, and I didn't fucking understand that.
I remember that.
Who does not understand the difference between how a fucking solidified gangster dressed and just kids that like to go to rock shows and maybe smoke weed on the weekends? You understand what I'm saying? I never understood that.
When I was into the whole punk rock counterculture thing when I was younger. Imagine that, right? And I was treated differently in certain aspects, but I just wrote it off as, well, you live in a conservative part of the world. I never saw it as anything other than that.
And that's a lot to do with it.
But
we're in the Bible Belt. There's no doubt about that.
But I do think part of why these people that are a part of the movement, they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And they have gotten to a point
sick and tired
where
sick and tired.
They see no white light at the end of the tunnel. In fact, that
no pun intended.
That article that I read today, they interviewed a gentleman who, I think the article said he was 28, who said, I agree with what they're doing,
just not how they're doing it.
But what's the point? It's not going to change. It's always been this way. He was from Baltimore, actually. And he said, it's always been this way. It's never going to change.
Because the mob mentality kicks in and you're just reinforcing what a stereotype is.
Yes, but you also, during the first wave of the civil rights movement, I mean, obviously, racism was a far greater issue than it is today. It was people were totally segregated based solely on color. But now you have these kids who, let's assume, are the children and or grandchildren of people who saw the first civil rights movement, who have been told their whole lives, these people fought for your ability to sit wherever you want on a bus, to be able to vote, to be able to go to the school you want to go to, etc., etc. And they've reached their adulthood where they're saying it was all a bunch of shit. That really... not a whole lot's changed. So I can understand their anger and their frustration.
Absolutely.
And I don't know. It kind of, I enjoy watching it, and I enjoy kind of seeing where it may go, and I hope that they do get something accomplished.
Hey, real quick, and I don't want to cut you off, but I think this is something we really, as your producer, I think this is something we should really jump off to real quick. We just got a submission on the live chat that I think we really have to cover.
Lord.
And listen, especially when you're talking about racial disparity and things of this nature, having somebody from the minority world, specifically black, in our case, a black man that grew up and dealt with all this shit his whole life, Mr. DJ Quake, which was supposed to be here tonight.
Oh, this is good. Come on, Quake, what you got for me?
He jumped up on the live chat, and he says he doesn't believe that slavery really happened. He says, and real quick, because I know that's small, I'm gonna jump out here real quick, and we're gonna try to up that size so that way people can see what the fuck it is that people are saying. And DJ Quake says, I didn't think slavery really happened. And that's because he obviously believes the world's flat too, but that's okay because that's DJ Quake. He might have some weird ass ideology, but he knows how to spin them steel wheels, and he knows how to run a radio station, and that's all I give a shit about.
Well, there you have it.
Thank you for tuning in there, Mr. Quake.
Yeah. Always love your support. But and you know what else I think? Part of the reason why I really wanted to bring this up is because even though I don't know what it's like being, a white girl and living in, suburbia with mom, dad, and picket fences and all that jazz, this seems to be something that nobody wants to touch.
Hey, Quake, by the way, if you want to, I know that chat was kind of a little bit of a joking thing for you, but if you want to get on the show, and I know you planned on stopping by, we were going to put you on the dais anyway, so if you want to call all in, it's 426-4065, call in, and Charis would love to chat with you about this. But Charis, you're absolutely right. It's really hard for black guys, or black folks in general, to sit and listen to white people. Even if they're saying the things that they want to hear, it's hard for them to sit and listen to them talk about it, because they feel in their heart that they have no idea what it is they're talking about, because they've never experienced it.
But that's not what I'm talking talking about. What I'm talking about is the white media won't touch it.
Wait,
they are
you should have
so
just said
afraid.
the media.
Well, media, period.
Because even
but,
BET is white media. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But nobody wants to touch this because there is that, we do live in PC culture and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to touch it because I do think it is something.
Touch it.
That's what she said. This is something that is socially going on. This does affect everyone. And the only way that anything is going to change, regardless of whether it's the rights of Latinos, Latinos and Mexicans.
Well, technically, Mexican Americans would like to refer to themselves as Chicanos. So you were actually all right with that.
But the only way that anything is going to get better between any race is if there's unity and cooperation between the races. You're not going to get anywhere if you've got all the Black Lives Matter movement piping in, but then the mainstream media and anyone else is going, we're not touching that, we might offend somebody. That's not how change happens.
Right. There's two different ways to approach it, essentially, and the two most common are this. Like, you have the Morgan Freeman and version of this, which is stop talking about it, stop making it an issue, and kind of let it work itself out through the evolution of society. And that's honestly how Morgan Freeman feels. Like, Morgan Freeman wants to get rid of Black History Day because he feels like, quit making it a point to show how different we are in this country, and let's just have Citizens Day,
Right.
He said, let's get rid of black entertainment because let's just have entertainment channels, because the more that you reinforce this
the
difference, the more you're allowing people to act on the difference and be morally react to the differences in society, I guess is the easiest and best way to say that. And then you have the other side, which is, it's not so much, and this isn't just from black people, it's from all the minorities, is it becomes less of a we want equality and more of a we want more than equal. NoFX has a song, I can't remember the name of the track, but it's we want more than equal rights. We want everything for free. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
It's true. Basically, it's the weird distinction between equality and wanting more than that. And there's two different aspects of it, and they're never going to get along. And I think that's what stunts racial relations, specifically in this country.
I agree with Morgan Freeman to an extent, but it's like when I compare the Rodney King riots, the O.J. Simpson thing, versus now the Ferguson, the Baltimore and all that. Mm-hmm. Police brutality. Okay, this is not a new thing. In fact, NWA wrote an entire album on police brutality and violence in the 90s. What's happened is people's lack of talking about anything, I think, has impacted what's gone on in the last couple years. Because after the dust from Rodney King settled and the OJ thing settled and everything, once all that dust kind of cleared, everyone just went back to putting it in a box and pretending it didn't exist. And now what you've got is now you've got it again, but it's twice as bad. And until we all start to bring it out into the open and effectively air grievances and try to work out solutions, it's never going to change.
You can't do that when the media is sensationalizing it. They want it to happen because
the media is capitalizing on it all day long.
Yeah, and they're going to keep stoking that fire because that's what's good for the gander is, how's it go?
What's good for the goose is good for the gander?
That's it.
Well, the media is always going to try to capitalize because it's ratings. We don't have media in this country anymore. Walter Cronkite is spinning in his grave.
No, dude, he's in Barbados with Tupac.
That's what they keep saying. But it's, you can't pretend like
just 2 seconds. I'm gonna be kind of loud. Quake is actually outside right now watching the show. I have no idea why. Come inside, motherfucker. I'm gonna move the mic away, and no, I'm not gonna do that. But I was gonna move the mic away and yell, "Quake, get your ass inside, son! What the hell you doing?"
What else is he saying?
Let me go ahead and bring that up real quick. He says, outside, by the way. No, that's not what I was That's not what I was saying, G. I don't know if he actually added the extra G in there on purpose, but he is a black dude, so if he did say G, that's completely acceptable. And he also says, chat lag, I was trying to say that's how I came across when that's how it came across when she said she lived in a bubble and wasn't around racism and whatnot. Oh, I got you. Yeah, there's actually a 40-second delay. We will start to decrease that now that we are getting into more viewer interaction. We're definitely gonna reduce that down. I had that there, and it's kind of a static. What's the word I'm looking for? It was kind of a default setting that we had at the beginning when this network first went live, because we had a lot of fucking issues.
I bet he was poking fun at me.
That's exactly what he was doing.
He was poking fun at me.
Yeah.
I think slavery happened. I know it happened. There's evidence of it.
It's happened all over the world for millions, not millions, but thousands of years.
It's happened, yeah, thousands of years.
Unless dinosaurs were enslaving motherfuckers, maybe not millions of years. But
speaking of which,
dinosaurs enslaved people.
Dinosaurs! We're getting on to dinosaurs. I know all about some dinosaurs I can throw down. There is actually a museum where they actually have these dinosaurs with saddles on top of them, because apparently humans used to ride around on dinosaurs.
Oh yeah. We used to have one right here in Pensacola, the Creationists
amusement
park.
Yeah.
We had one right here in Pensacola. Like,
we did.
A lot of people don't know where we're at in Pensacola. Not only is it the buckle, the buckle of the Bible Belt, but it is the mecca for not just like regular everyday Bible shit, but for neo-Christianity. I think is the best way to say that.
We have more churches here per capita than anywhere else in the world.
We got about 5 minutes left in the show. Come on in, DJ Quake.
Yep.
I'll tell you what.
I want you to vacate your seat because I want to get Quake in on this.
I'll tell you what.
I want to get.
You guys are gonna see something silly. Go ahead, grab that chair. I'm gonna go ahead. You guys are gonna see me work the camera a little bit here for a second, so we can get DJ Quake in here next to the Disenchanted one. So give me just a second. We're gonna work that out.
You know, if you can't,
we're gonna do this live. I mean, why not? DJ Quake's here. Shit.
You know what, DJ? If you can't get here on time, brother, just get here when you can. All right.
he's on CP time while you're bullshitting.
And here we were having an intellectual conversation on race relations, and we're sitting over here playing up every stereotype we possibly can.
I don't have the extra mic, so what I'm gonna do is you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I wasn't saying that I didn't believe racism existed.
Okay.
Yeah. I was saying that's what
you were poking fun is what you were doing. Yes. We established that already.
You were making fun of Charis for being a white girl that grew up insulated, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Quake's completely defined the false image we have about me being in a booth when he's on both of our screens right now. Hey, listen. Look, I want everybody to know that everything you see here at PMVN is fake as a motherfucker. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Let me get out the booth.
Yeah. Hey, for those of you who didn't figure it out, this is totally some shit we've got going on in a basement.
If we had truly basements in Florida, I'd buy that.
We are truly the underground radio.
Oh yeah, that's legit.
We are truly the underground radio. We have me, who I waffle on about current events and things that I think need to be talked about, trying to hopefully inspire people to think critically and stop swallowing the bullshit they are fed.
Mm-hmm.
How well it's working? Yeah, the jury's still out.
We'll see what happnes, huh?
We'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and
fix you here.
There ain't no fixing me, darling.
Well, you know what I meant. Why don't you pull the mic just a little bit to, I guess, what would be your left. Get it out of your, get this. There it is.
There you go.
Better, way
got
better.
It.
Yep.
Got it.
All right.
Then we've got DJ Quake, who showcases local artists, regional artists. Basically, if you're a musician and you want your music heard to more than yourself.
Well, his show, the Aftershock, actually, that's predominantly hip hop and rap from the local area. But I mean, he'll take international. I mean, he'll take submissions from all over the world and he'll put them on spin. Don't get me wrong. But we've got some other radio shows that DJ Quake, by the way, is the guy that actually runs the PMVN radio operations, the radio division of this network. He's the one that runs that. And if you want your music, no matter what genre it is, and you're unsigned or you're an independent artist that's signed to your own label, you send your MP3s along with a little description of your project to radio@pimpyk.com, and he's the man that gets you spinning in on PMVN Radio. And then if everybody is the consensus is that we like your music, then we might even get you on an episode of the Pimpy Cast and help you promote your shit. Really cool stuff, man. I didn't mean to turn your show into a big
advertisement,
be
a promo, but hey, why not? I mean, I've got 2 or 3 people that watch the show, so
so you guys know, the music that we spin during the break are solidified PMVN featured artists. So
yeah, we're catching up with Dr. Dre and Interscope on this bitch.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
We're there now.
We are.
We got some more chat action. Let's go ahead and bring that up real quick. We got Miss Diona.
Yay,
hey, Charis.
Hey,
ride them cowboy.
Where you been? We haven't heard from you all night. Now you want to chime in?
By cowboy, she's talking about them, the NFL Cowboys. They got Ezekiel.
I don't think that's what she's talking about.
Well, the draft is going on right now, and I missed my Oakland Raiders, so I have no idea right now who they drafted, and that pisses me off.
We missed the Raiders?
Yeah, they were picked 14, and they were at 7 when we started the show. The draft's probably over by now, I would think. They're getting pretty fucking close to it.
Speaking of which, I still haven't worn my Raiders shoes over to the studio yet. Yeah. I have Oakland Raiders sneakers.
Nobody gives a shit about your Raiders shoes. I gotta be honest with you.
They look just like moon boots. They're like metallic silver high tops with like padded backs and everything. They're super cute. All right, so I think that's gonna about do it for us. Unless you have anything else you want to plug.
What are you trying to say? Come on, be nice, woman.
Woman? That's right up there with thought.
No, that's not up there with thought.
That's up there with thought.
All right, I'm sorry. I don't know what you mean, that hoe over there. End your show. You're killing them. There's people watching. You're just killing it all.
God, one of these days I'm going to have
Stay on your game, woman.
I'm on my game. I am always on my game. I run it around here. Remember, I'm the heart of PMVN.
You are.
You said so yourself.
Well, you're the only chick with the show, so that's kind of what I meant by that.
Aw. And here I was. No, I'm the only chick you can get.
No, that's not true.
Aw,
on the show or otherwise.
Nice.
End your show, Charis.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it for us for this week. Tune in next week. We're gonna get some good stuff going on. Like I said, if there's anything you want to see on the show, definitely hit me up at charis@pimpyk.com. That's going to do it for me.
I believe there's one more thing you should tell them about next week's episode.
No, that's the week after next.
Oh, okay. Then I apologize.
Okay, so since Kenny ruined the surprise...
Well, we're going to have to tell it's pre-recorded.
The week after next will be a pre-recorded show because I will be on vacation.
And she's not allowed to leave here without having a show ready.
Yeah, I know. Much needed and much overdue vacation. So that will be a pre-recorded show. Since you ruined the surprise.
How is that a surprise?
I don't know.
Maybe it was a surprise for next week. I don't know. All right, guys.
That's it. We're done. I'm out. Have a good night. We'll see you next week.
Disenchanted with Charis, Thursday nights at 8 on the Pimpy K Multiverse Network.